and welcome back to another episode of the PlantFueled Femme. Today we have guest Lila Swanberg with us. Lila is a clinical herbalist, and today we're going to dive into quote unquote normal labs because I don't know how many people I talk with, and I'm sure you do as well, Lila, that come in and they're like, hey, I went to the doctor recently and I was told that everything in my labs is normal, yet you are presenting with a multitude of symptoms that you are not understanding. So hopefully we can clear up some of that. I'm not going to say there's misinformation, but confusion that some of you have out there. So welcome, Lila. I'm really excited to speak with you this afternoon.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. And I told you to introduce me as a clinical herbalist, but I also am a certified functional nutrition counselor. So just that functional perspective really informs how I bring lab work into my practice, even though herbalism is at the core. I love the functional principles. I think they are just such a great guiding light.
Right, right. The whole functional lens is just it's a different way of looking at things. And it doesn't mean that someone is right or wrong in their scope of education. It just means that it's different. And but the functional lens really allows us to kind of dive in and get to the root of, whatever happens to be going on, which is not always the case in a traditional lens.
Yeah.
But I also love that you are doing functional nutrition because nutrition is like the core of everything. It really is. And we can do all the functional medicine testing, we can do all the herbs, we can do all the things, but if our nutrition at the core is truly lacking, it really kind of sets us up to be not in an optimal place to be healthy.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if this is like going left field, but I've noticed a trend with a lot of functional doctors kind of bypassing the nutrition, the lifestyle, the really individualized care and kind of falling into that trap of prescribing to lab work. So
Mhm.
I'm an extra big advocate for those functional pieces of, how do we dial in this person's lifestyle? How do we recognize the relationships and the stressors that are putting them in this situation? How do we bring in the nutrition that's right for them? Because I think without those pieces, it's never going to be sustainable. You can, shift it, you can get people feeling a little better, but like if you want this to be sustainable for a human, they have to tune into the nutrition and the lifestyle and, the entire picture.
Right, right, you do. And what you just described is honestly a conversation I had with someone a couple of weeks ago where they had been to, oh my God, so many functional practitioners. I don't even know how many. And she had so much lab work, which is great. It's helpful. But the missing piece is the foundation. And so if your body is just like stuck in this freeze state, you're never going to get better no matter how many herbal or supplement protocols that you run. Your body can't because you have to get it out of the state that it's in and give it a foundation where it can be healthy.
Exactly. And in my practice, I use lab work regularly and I have like a standard panel that I run with people, but I don't jump to complexity until I have the basics dialed in. Like just the are you sleeping? Are you having a daily bowel movement? Like what's the low-hanging fruit before we go
Right.
chasing really complex and expensive lab work? And I don't think all of my clients appreciate this because they're like, let me get the GI mapping, let me get the parasite testing. And I'm like, but we have obvious things we need to dial in first. Like let's start here and jump to complexity if and when is needed. I don't know if you practice similarly, but that's something I really try to anchor on because if we bypass, then we end up exactly in the same spot, minus, some thousands of dollars in our bank account.
Right. Yeah. Some of those tests are not inexpensive. Yeah. No, we're similar. Some clients will come in and they want the lab work, and that's fine. And we do have a route that we go that way. But it doesn't change at the core that yes, we work on sleep, we work on how many bowel movements we're having, we work on your stress management skills, we work on if you are moving your body, because those are our foundational pieces. And no, they're not sexy, and no, they're not cool, but they don't go away. Like it's how your body is supposed to function on a daily basis. And if it's not functioning in the manner that you desire, then we have to look at Well, what part of your foundation isn't working?
Yes. Yep. Right. And yeah, you already know if you build on a rocky foundation, then you really will end up right where you are. You might get temporary relief.
Right.
You might feel good for a little bit, but you will be back where you are. And so I think it's a really easy trap to fall into with lab work, specifically is like, oh, I see that your iron is low. Let's just supplement your iron. And, it's easy to bypass like, how did we get low iron in the first place? So,
Right. Yeah, that's true. It's looking back, and I think you're 100% right. It's very easy, but it's also very convenient for the client to, hey, just take this supplement, not let's work on stress management. Let's make sure you're eating vegetables, and make sure that, you're getting sleep, because if not, you're just going to burn through any minerals that you're taking in.
right. Well, and like, I always kind of take the approach like, let's replenish. If things are low, let's get you feeling better while figuring out how we got here and how
Exactly.
we're going to
Yes.
get
Yeah,
that
you can
foundation
do that.
going.
Yes. Yeah, you can do that. I think sometimes too, though, people don't understand, like they've spent often years, if not decades, getting to the spot that they're in. So no, we're not going to fix it with one bottle of something. Like I'd love to be magic, but
Oh my
I'm not.
gosh. Right? And it's hard because you want to feel better quickly, and a lot of people are so burned out, like practitioner burned out, protocol burned out by the time they make it to me, probably by the time they make it to you too. And so I feel their pain of wanting to just be like, can I just like, give me the 30-day solution, give me the magic pill. It doesn't exist, but I can feel how exhausted people are just from searching so hard for answers. So I empathize there, but no, it doesn't exist. I wish it did.
Right, right. Wave your magic wand and just fix them.
Just make it all go away. Man, just, yep.
Right. Yes, no, I really wish we could. Um, but going back to, we need a healthy foundation. That's, if you didn't know that before this podcast, please, if that's the only thing you walk away with, like know that you need a healthy foundation. And your foundation is going to include the things that we were talking about: your sleep, your nutrition, your stress management, your digestive health. Those are really, and the way that you move your body every day. That's really the key foundational habits that we have of your overall health. But when people come in and they walk into you, they come into me and they're like, hey, I don't feel good. So yeah, we're going to assess that. But oftentimes we are going to look at labs too, because you can get so much very useful information from them. And but so say someone comes in and they're bringing their own lab work from their doctor, and it has, well, like your standard CBC. If you're lucky, it has estrogen on it and TSH, and everything on there's fine, right? It's all normal. It's all right there in the green, and their doctor says there's nothing wrong with them. But you and I both know that is not necessarily true, because inside of functional medicine, there is a different standard of lab values. So inside of our current CBC, what are the things that you're seeing that are normal that really aren't, besides everything?
I mean, like, yeah, like everything. And it's so interesting because, and a lot of clients do come with their own lab work and they're always like, my labs are fine. And it's almost hard to go back and be like, well, they're not fine. Because people take the labs as like, oh, I have the seal of approval from my doctor. And then you have to like kind of backtrack and really take some time to educate and understand the difference between what your doctor is looking for, which is a pathological range, a diagnosable disease, something that is fully into a dysfunctional state versus what you and I are looking for, which is optimization, which is this organ or system functioning as good as it could be? Do we have enough nutrients to operate? I think the one that probably drives me the most crazy is vitamin D. Um, Gosh, I had a client yesterday. She just had a bunch of surgeries and lab work done. She sent me, 15 different lab panels, and her vitamin D was 28. And
Mhm.
in the green, looks
Yeah.
perfect from her perspective and her doctor's perspective. That's about 3 times lower than I want to see it. Like I dial vitamin D into 75 nanograms per milliliter, and it is such a big difference between what I want to see and what makes people feel quite a bit better. And, the seal of approval they're getting from their doctor, because we don't talk about what these lab ranges are that our doctors are going off of, right? Like we don't talk about that. That's the amount of vitamin D to prevent rickets, not to optimally function in your body. So that's a really, like the nutrients are the biggest, probably the most common ones I see. Iron, ferritin, vitamin D, vitamin B12, just, those things that they seem small, but they make such a big difference for somebody and how they feel.
Right. Yeah, no, those are two really big ones too, the vitamin D and the ferritin for sure. Like, oh my God. Telling some woman that she's fine when her ferritin is 7 is not fine. It's really not.
I know. Well, and
No
I
wonder
have
your hair
people,
is falling
oh, right?
out.
Like, how are you functioning? You must be tired.
Right, right. And then like I actually use a liquid like plant-based supplement to bring up ferritin just because it's way far gentler, if that's such a great word, way far gentler on the gut. But and it seems to be very well absorbed too because we have like the labs to back it up.
Hmm.
But often women will start that and within 2 weeks it's amazing. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm sleeping and I have energy." I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, it's amazing. And I find that in especially my female population, because they've spent so many years restricting and dieting,
Yes.
just like that's we none of us came out of that unscathed.
No.
Like even if women are overweight, like they're still experiencing such a depleted picture that
Yes.
it's just we're dragging. And like you said, bringing in the right nutrient can make you feel so much better so quickly. And it is just still shocking to me how overlooked this is on the medical side. And
Right.
even when women have low iron, like their doctor goes and puts them on the least digestible,
I
most
know.
gut destroying form of iron that just makes them feel worse.
No, I know. It's so horrible. And then then we have another issue because then they're constipated on top of probably being slightly constipated in the first place.
Yeah.
It just compounds, a problem in the gut that's already there. But it's true. So even though, say, like we still have to work on sleep and we still have to work on nutrition, we can add in that supplement, if you have low ferritin, because doing so will help to replenish your stores. Um, Looking at your foundation, we will know why your ferritin is low. But then also, if we help to replenish your stores and improve your energy, you will actually have energy to do the things we're asking you to do.
That's my philosophy, at least. Like, let's replenish what we can. Let's get you feeling better as quickly as we can because lifestyle changes, nutrition changes, like it's a big ask, especially when you're working with people that are busy, that are, working, that have families. And then you're like, on top of that, we want you to do all these things and you'd have no energy. So I am absolutely a fan of that approach. Like, what can we do to get you feeling better quickly? Let's optimize some levels, even if it's like a little bit of symptomatic treatment. Then, add in this layer when you have the space to actually do the things.
Right, right. No, I agree 100%. Another value that drives me nuts is when they come in with their own lab work and they have a TSH and they're pronounced fine thyroid.
Mm.
Thyroid. Well, because you're missing like 5 other markers.
Yes. Yeah. Let's look at that one marker. Let's look at it in our wide pathological range too, right? Like they're
Right,
not looking at, tighter functional ranges like we're looking at. And
right,
then yeah, like we that's a snapshot. That's a moment of time. That doesn't give you the full picture. Um, and hypothyroidism is like so prevalent. I'm
yes,
sure you see it, like most women have some level of underfunctioning thyroid performance happening.
right.
It's so
Right.
prevalent.
Which I mean, it ties back to everything, like you mentioned, the chronic, decades dieting, the lack of sleep, the chronic stress, all of those things have a cost. And it's just not known. Like people, walk around and live in their bodies and don't understand how they work. They just don't. I guess our health class in school doesn't do a very good job of teaching you how your body works. And even inside the fitness industry, that it makes me like, even though that's where I work, right? It
Mm-hmm.
makes me so upset because for years people have been just let's exercise more. Let's reduce your food without understanding what it was costing internally for these millions of women that now have low thyroid, low ferritin, very bad perimenopause symptoms. It's all tied together.
It really is. And I've gone on my own weight loss journey. I've been overweight and, I adopted a nice, cute little eating disorder to lose weight. So it wasn't, functional, it wasn't healthy. It didn't get me to a place of health, even though I lost weight. And when clients come to me and weight loss is a goal, 9 times out of 10, they're so depleted. I'm like, okay, we're going to actually bring in more food and I want you working out less. And they're like, wait, what? That is the opposite of everything I've been told. And you can actually see like this relief in their face because they think you're going to tell them to move more, eat less, like everybody else has been telling them. And they're losing motivation and willpower because their bodies are just not getting fed what they need. And I'm like, no, 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 we're going to replenish you. Like, we're going to take your body out of this extremely stressed state so we can even think about digesting our food and absorbing nutrients and just like making our body feel safe. And it is like you can just see it in their eyes, like it's relief, but it's also like so dystopian to them. Like they're like, what?
Right.
That's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah, no, no, it really is. And you can see that. Or you sometimes you'll have the ones too that push back. They're like, no, I can't do that. Like, I can't do that. The scale will go up. So who cares if the scale goes up? It'll come back down. Like
Yeah.
it's not, there's such a strength of value attached to the number on the scale. And hopefully someday that will dissipate for all women. But from time to time, I still run into it when we're working through that restoring health phase and the scale does go up. It is okay.
Yeah. Oh, I've been there. Like I totally get how scary it is because it feels like we're trending up and we like are just so in this micro moment instead of looking at the whole picture.
Right.
As a woman, your weight is fluctuating every day of
Every
the month
day.
anyway. Like you have to stand back and take the bigger picture. And one thing that I try really hard to do, and I take this into consideration when looking at lab work too, because that's an external factor. But I try really hard to get people to start tuning in and say, like, how do you feel? Your lab work can look any which way, but what matters at the end of the day is how do you feel? Are we feeling good? What does the scale say? Like it might go up, but maybe you actually feel less bloated and leaner. Like, there's a whole spectrum of things happening. We're complex. So I try to get people just to trust that internal validation and even just start garnering that awareness because we do rely so much on external factors like the scale telling us how we feel or the lab work telling us how we feel. And while those things are happy, if they are helpful, if they start dictating things for us, then we've like outsourced our power and we will never find that health because it's every external marker needing to be perfect for us to feel okay.
Right. Right. When there is so much internal. And that's where we turn, when we're going through, I call them restorative phase, where we're rebuilding the foundation. And sometimes the scale does go up, whatever. It will, like I said, it will come back down, but we do. We look at, are you going to the bathroom every day? Can you sleep through the night? Do you have enough energy to do your things, or are you still crashing on your face at 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yep.
Like, are you snapping at your husband? Do you want to have sex? Like, those are key things. They're huge wins. When you are going through a phase of restoring the foundational health of your body. And so we look at those things rather than looking at some inanimate object that spits out a number and tells you whether you're worthy to be happy today or not.
Right, right. And that's just such a great point. I'm glad to hear you practice like that too. Just the how do you feel, right? Like is your libido back? Great. I don't care what the other things say. Let's talk about what's important.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I know. Oh God, like, you would think that with as healthy as I try to keep myself, that I would not have any problems, whatever. But my libido did disappear, like going through perimenopause for like a whole year. And let me tell you, that was pretty hard, like mentally hard, physically
Yeah.
hard. Finally, it came back, and I'm like, oh, hallelujah. Like, it was like this giant weight lifted off of me because I couldn't even imagine like trying to live the rest of my life feeling that way.
Right.
And my point is, you don't have to. Like you do not have to. The way, yes, there is disease, and yes, there are serious illnesses, but there is a lot of the way that we feel, and there is much inside of our own health that is a choice. And what we choose to do, what we choose to eat, how we choose to take care of our body directly influences that.
Oh, 100%. And I come from an Ayurvedic perspective, and one of the three pillars of health in Ayurveda is actually it's sex. It's our sexual health.
Okay.
And they believe that, and I fully adopt this, that you should be able to have sex at whatever point in your life that you want. You know, you shouldn't turn 60 and everything just shuts off. Like if you want to
Right.
be doing that when you're, any age, you should be able to do that. Now, like you said, that doesn't mean that we are in a constant state of libido that we were in when we were 20. Like there are still ebbs and flows and stressful periods and bodily shifts that we have to honor, right? Like there are different seasons still, but we've normalized so much just decline and dysfunction as people age that it is like what we've adopted as the narrative, like, oh, I'm gonna go through perimenopause, I'm gonna lose my libido, it's gonna be really hot at night, I'm gonna be sweaty, and that's that. Where there's cultures out there that don't have menopausal symptoms.
Right.
Like that is an American thing based on our lifestyles, and not everybody likes to hear that or is ready to hear that, but it's true and really empowering when we sit in the seat of we have more control over our health than we had ever been taught to believe.
Oh, 1000%. Yes. Yes. It's taking ownership, it's taking responsibility. And I think that's hard, and it's easier to accept for some people that this is just how it is, or this is just what happens as you get older. And I don't buy into that for 1 second.
No. I remember I turned 31 last year and I was on the phone with my grandma. I got the grandma phone call for my birthday and she's like, "How are you feeling? Like that must be really hard turning 31." I was like, "I love it. Like I love aging. I feel great. I am happy. I feel more confident. Like I every year I feel like I get better, not worse." And
Right.
it's just so funny that, that is not the perspective, especially of older generations of like, we age and we have to prevent it and fight it. And like, no, let's take a different approach. It feels better.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it actually just made me realize something I've never realized before. So thank you. Um, when I turned 29, I was not in this healthy space. I was in a bad relationship. I was anorexic. I had a lot of kids, I had whatever.
Hmm.
But the year that I turned 29, I was like so terrified of I did not want to have my birthday. I was not excited about it. I was mad. And then that year that I turned 30, I found the gym and I found exercise. And then, life slowly started to change. But I have never once since turning 29 have dreaded my birthday. Like it is every year I'm like, dang, I look good for my age. I feel pretty good. It's not, never ever has that happened one single time since turning 29. But that
Oh,
has to be why.
I love that.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. Thank you. That was
Yeah,
like
you're welcome.
conversation.
I personally think like the 20s are weird. Like things, and I
Oh
am
yeah. Yeah.
just barely into my 30s, so I don't quote me, but like things start making sense the older we get.
Right, right. They really do. Yeah, no, the 20s were not great years.
It's just they're so weird. We're so weird. It's just
Well, you got to figure out like how to be. My children are in their 20s now, and watching them figure out like how do I be a grown up is kind of cool. They're making better choices than I did, so I'm very proud of them.
nice.
But they still go through, rough patches, and you gotta figure it out.
Yeah, right. It really is that like who am I exploratory period. And of course it's going to be weird because we don't have it figured out, but that's the beauty with aging. Like you start figuring it out and that wisdom is worth its weight in gold so.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's important to note too that like it is never too late to change, the trajectory. Even if say we run out of time, we don't decide to change until close to the end, and so therefore we run out of time, you still have time to change something. It's not, we don't ever get too old to not be able to make a change.
Yes, I love that. That's such a good reminder. Like that's never too late. And the only thing that has to change is your perspective of it's not too late. You can totally decide.
Yes.
So,
That is so very true. Yeah, we have multiple clients right now that are in their 70s and 80s. Normally we work closer, around like 40, 50, 60. But we have some older ladies and a gentleman right now. Every once like even though we're Empower Her Wellness, every once in a while we get a gentleman somehow. So I guess like we have the Empower Her Men group. Um but they're older and they're kicking butt. Like they're doing so awesome in the gym. They're working on their health. One of them is doing a marathon, just like incredible things. All because they woke up and they chose, to not be weak and want to be healthy.
yeah. I always say like the only like quality I look for in a client is somebody who's open. Like if you're open to healing, if you're open to getting better, like you will get there. It
Oh,
might not be
yes.
linear, it might not be overnight, but if you maintain that openness, like it's
Uh-huh.
done. The rest is done.
Yes, that is true. I don't think it's ever linear for anyone. But my journey has not been. It's been so up and down.
Yeah. No, I think that's normal. Mine is too. I think people expect it to be linear, but it's not because we are not linear. We're messy.
No, no, I guess it's just like weight loss. Like the scale goes up and down, and so your health journey goes down. And it is a journey. And by the way, when we reach the destination, we're dead. So shouldn't we be enjoying the journey?
Yeah. Right. There's no like arrival point. Like you always have to maintain and keep working.
Yes.
Like we're constantly being pulled out of balance. Like the journey doesn't end.
No, it doesn't.
Sorry. That I know, I remember like thinking like, oh, there's got to be a destination I arrive to. I lose weight and I'm finally whatever, like I'm there. And then you realize like, oh shoot, no, I'm not. Like it doesn't end. You don't ever get to come off of it.
No, no, it's something that you just it becomes part of your identity, and then you just prioritize your health.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like your point. Learn to enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, that is so true. I think we've kind of talked all over the place. I'm going to bring it back to labs for just a second, but with our values of functional medicine labs being different than conventional medicine labs, it's not that conventional medicine labs are wrong, like you said in the very beginning. It's simply that they are different, and the reason that they are there is to treat you for something that has become a problem, where with the functional medicine labs we are trying to prevent something becoming a problem, and help the whole body be better able to handle and cope with whatever it is that is going on. But inside of that, with our I think we went over the vitamin D and the ferritin and the thyroid. Is there anything else that stands out to you as far as, being chronically not acknowledged is really what it comes down to?
Yeah. Well, and I'm sorry for diverging us in this
No, no,
conversation.
I love that. That was great. But we just
Okay.
went in a big circle.
Well, and when you were talking, I thought, I think there's this perception that functional labs are like special labs and special markers. And while there are markers that we look for that your doctor won't typically run, sometimes the markers that your doctor is running, right? Like the CBC or cardiometabolic plant panel are the markers we want to see. We just want to interpret them differently. And I think that's a confusion point because people think, oh, I have to go get functional labs. I have to go to Function Health and, get this 500 marker lab panel. Like that's functional labs, where really it's just a methodology for interpreting labs differently. And yes, in many scenarios, we will want more labs than what your doctor will typically order, but it's about understanding and looking at those labs from a different perspective, not necessarily about getting new and fancy lab markers.
Right. No, I think that's an important distinction to make. And something else is that like you said, we can use the labs that you're getting from your doctors, but if we feel that there is an issue and say there's one lab value for it on those labs from your doctors, we're going to order the missing ones. That way we can really understand what is going on inside your body. And that just goes back to, again, looking at root cause approach.
Yeah, very much so. Like it's like the the iron investigation from a doctor is just dismal, and I am shocked
Mhm.
sometimes.
Yes. No, I know. Oh, that's what I was going to say like a long time ago. With the CBC, I've seen this so often, but with the CBC, often, it pulls the markers for your blood cell health, like the RDW and the MCH and MCB, all that. Um, I have seen so often, and I want to know if you've seen it too, but when a woman is chronically stressed, whether we have a ferritin problem or not, those red blood cell markers are going to be elevated. Is that something you see too?
I do. I see.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a those are very commonly elevated or even suppressed markers, depending on like which ones we're looking at. But yes, very much so. I think there's a constellation of markers that kind of go with the patternings you see, which is why I also believe it's so important not to look at like one single marker in isolation, but you have to look at, the entire picture. And that's why they say reading labs it's really just as much of an art as it is a science. You really do have to like take in everything. And sometimes these markers might not be driven by something extreme. We might see a constellation of markers out of place. You're dehydrated, or you were stressed when you got the draw. So I think just remaining in that whole picture view is so important. But yes, totally.
Okay. Yeah. No, I found it so interesting over like the last 3 years. As I brought the lab practice into my practice, and there's not other functional medicine doctors here that I can just go talk to. But I'm like, this is a pattern I keep seeing over and over. And so I'll see like those red blood cell markers be elevated, the cortisol's in range. But then if I run a 24-hour cortisol test, there is like some sort of adrenal dysfunction somewhere. So it's interesting. Well, reading labs is interesting, and I guess I enjoy it, or I wouldn't do it.
Oh yeah, it is. It's fun. Well, and if you ever have any like insights or questions, or you want to swap our
Yes.
experiences, definitely let me know, because I don't have any functional doctors in my circle yet either.
No, no, this is good. Yeah, we should do that. I think that would be great. It would be good for both of us.
Nice.
Awesome. Um, all right. So on our functional lab conversation, um, anything else that would be super useful that we didn't cover?
The last thing I'll add, because this was I was so afraid to get lab work done.
Oh, really?
And yeah, like I used to be pretty afraid of what's going on in my body and the medical system. And so as I started going back to school, educating myself and getting deeper and deeper into this, world I'm in now, I finally like pulled off the Band-Aid and got lab work done. And I can tell how stressful or daunting or scary lab work can be, because it's, oh, what's wrong? What's going on inside of me that I don't know? Am I going to uncover cancer? Like, I think it can be really easy for this to be a really stressful event. But there is like no morality tied to your lab work, and it's just information to help. And I think that if we can like distance ourselves from the lab work a little bit and just, use it as supporting information, not to be scared of, it can really shift how we feel around the lab work and make it less scary. So I try to maintain that because, I've been there. I know, oh no, like all of these things are red or out of range, or, it can seem really serious, but if you look at everything in the whole picture and you don't look at one, single lab draw as truth, but as information, right? Like we want to look for patterns and things validated over time, not necessarily one marker out of range one time. I think that also just helps the experience around lab work, because it is important. It's a great tool. And so the more that we can kind of empower people not to be afraid of it is important, I think.
Right. No, that's so true. And I didn't even think about that. We have some clients, yeah, that get um nervous or apprehensive, I guess, about lab results. But too, if you have, a marker that's one off, like say you go in and your sodium's low or something, like that has so much to do with probably the day before. The same can even happen with liver values. But with the way that we practice, we're looking at trends over time. So that's when like multiple, multiple labs can be helpful. Not necessarily that we want to have the ones from your doctor and then go send you for more next month. That's kind of redundant. But if you have, say you have 2 years of annual labs from your doctors, bring those because they are helpful and they would let us see if there's a trend, rather than us having to go and reorder things. So it's something that I like to do, with sometimes I think because, well, like you and I are only seeing like 50 to 100 people at a time, probably. A PCP is seeing thousands of people. So sometimes with those one-off labs, it's easy for them to dismiss it as being, hey, this is just, slightly off. It's just, what's going on this time. But we've actually seen a couple clients that had those one-off labs for like 5 years. And it really was something that was a problem. So,
Yeah.
so being, having some extra insight can be helpful. But again, if you're working with functional medicine, you want to be looking at the labs with optimal lens anyhow, which is going to be something outside of what a PCP is using, which should help you catch something before it becomes an issue.
Yeah, yeah, very, very well put. I have been seeing a trend of just like really low white blood cell counts. And that is especially one I'm like, is this a trending issue or is this a moment in time? And I'll dig and I'm like, go find me your lab work from the last 10 years. Let's go see if this is a problem. And it it act usually is. It's not usually a one-off marker from what I've been seeing lately, but like it's so helpful to know. Is this transient? Is this a one-off marker? Is this a trend? And that really informs care in a lot of ways.
Yes, yeah, it really does. The history can help tremendously.
Yeah.
And it helps you not be afraid of a marker.
Yes, 100%. It doesn't have to be scary.
No, no, it really doesn't. The labs are information, and that's really it. They're not a diagnosis or a prognosis or anything. They're just giving us an internal information.
Yes, very well put.
Awesome. Well, anything else that we missed? I don't know. I've loved our conversation. I think we could probably keep talking for like another half an hour.
Yeah, that was great. No, I think we covered a nice little spectrum of, you know, looking at labs from a new perspective.
Right, right. No, I think we did too, with some added little extra gems of information in there.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you can walk away with something of value from our conversation. Lila, if someone wanted to reach out with more questions on labs, or we didn't even talk about clinical herbalism, where could they find you?
They can find me on my website. It's tvnhc.com. And from there, you can learn about me, my work. I have a mentorship community for people wanting to use herbs more effectively in practice. It's
Nice.
all there. I also have a podcast, but like the website is the anchoring point where you can find all of the good stuff from.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I have truly enjoyed our conversation. I think it was wonderful. So thank you for joining us. And to our audience, be sure to turn in next time, for our next guest.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.